What's good, YouTube? Steel here, and in today's video we're taking on the Giratina EX Expert Solo Battle from Shining Revelry with fighting type only and 3 diamonds or less. But before we get to the deck that I recommend, let's look at the deck we're going against, which in this case is a deck that would have dominated Genetic Apex. If you would have given Giratina to Mewtwo like back in the Genetic Apex days, it goes from best deck to like untouchable, but we don't have to talk about that. That didn't happen. What we could see is that it's literally your Mewtwo deck from back in the day with a few additions. So there will be like attempts where you're trying to set up and they just go like the perfect line of starting with Mewtwo and just build up a Gardevoir as fast as possible and start using side drive turn after turn. And honestly, I don't know if our deck could handle something like that, but for the most part that shouldn't happen. But if it were to happen, I want to like at least put it out there, like have an idea that it could, so it doesn't like catch you off guard. As far as the new additions to this deck, Giratina is clearly there to not only ramp itself, but be a secondary attacker. And if you notice that Dawn down there, they will use it aggressively. Like they turn one will like charge Mewtwo and then use Giratina's ability, and then the following turn just Dawn and start attacking for 50, which in some occasions might be too much for us to handle depending on the start we have. But for the most part, their strategy is pretty cut and dry. It's just building up a sweeper, but fortunately, as you can notice by their HP count right here, both Mewtwo and Giratina top out at 150. Not to mention that Giratina hurts itself when it swings. But they're not playing Cape. They're not playing any kind of healing. So again, just like the Pikachu matchup, all you have to worry about is dealing 150. And as always, we love seeing red on these lists, as when we're playing 3 diamonds or less, red does absolutely nothing to us. So it's the Mewtwo deck we used to see day in and day out back in Genetic Apex with the addition of Giratina. So let's go straight into the deck that's going to beat this, and that is Rampardos Lucario. And I know, give me 0 points in creativity, but at least a gold star in performance, because this deck is definitely capable. With Rampardos being such a force in the Triumphant Light meta, it was bound to be really effective in solo battles. Granted, Rampardos is nowhere near as popular since the release of Shining Revelry. We don't really mind what the meta looks like at this point. All we need to worry about is beating Giratina right here alongside the Mewtwo. And this list is capable of doing it very well, as a Pseudo-Woodle lead applies instant pressure, dealing 50 damage off the jump, potentially being able to knock out a Giratina or Mewtwo lead that they have before it even gets to attack. But the main reason I chose Rampardos for this challenge is that Rampardos with the Lucario boost is able to knock out both Giratina and Mewtwo, because as I mentioned previously, they have no access to Cape or any card like Blue or anything that would like make their Pokemon survive anything that's hitting for 150. A card I didn't add but could definitely see play here, and you could try to find space for, is Red, as it adds that same boost that Lucario is providing. So maybe whether you want to play more consistency cards or less cards, or if you want to swap it around or not depend on Lucario, Red does essentially the same thing. Other than that, I don't have much to say about this list. Y'all know it from like playing the actual meta. And realistically, your worst enemy is like your own consistency, as fossils aren't searchable, and it being a stage 2, maybe you don't see a certain piece of the line, so you'll probably lose attempts like that. However, it shouldn't take too long to see the ideal hand and just dominate the challenge. So with that, if this video did help you or you enjoy all things Pokemon Pocket, please consider liking and subscribing for more. And above all else, stay pro. Alright, going second with, technically on paper, well, pre-Shining Revelry, the second best or second most popular deck in the format. So you have to anticipate or expect this to be pretty good in this environment where you're going against basically a CPU. Like if this deck is good and can win tournaments against like the best of the best, you could definitely clean house against the computer, regardless of like how good their hand is. Granted, if they see the Gardevoir line rather quickly, it could get out of hand. So you want to keep that in mind. Well, not in mind, just like don't get frustrated if it happens, right? Just like queue up again and you should get it the next time around. Yeah, we're looking for Rampardos, so let's thin the deck out of basics first and then dig with research. The second that you have Lucario and Rampardos, it's basically GG, as Rampardos could one-shot everything on their side with the aid of Lucario. Let's go Fighting Headbutt here. Pseudo-Woodle also great in this matchup because everything they have in the front line is going to be EX. Like if they have a routes or anything, it's going to be tucked in the back, so you don't have to worry about it. Alright, they're slowly building up that Giratina, but we're also slowly building up our Rampardos, so we're fine. Usually I try to save communication for the turn that I'm actually going to use the evolution, but low-key, if this is a Riolu, I'm just as satisfied, so unfortunate, but it's okay. Let's go here, set up Marshadow for the counter attack, the revenge, and go for 50 here. The best part is that since everything in our side is a one-pointer, there's like no way they could play around where we won't like out it. Also, I'm not sure what they're doing here with putting an energy on routes. Maybe they just given up. We could just Cyrus out the Mewtwo anyways. There's another Skull Fossil. Although I'll save that slot for a Riolu. I think it's worth just knocking out Mewtwo while we can. But also putting Giratina in a spot where Marshadow could just knock it out after the fact is also just as good, right? So let's do that instead. Let's put Giratina in range for Marshadow. Because at any moment we could just Cyrus out the Mewtwo and knock it out with either Cranidos or a Revenge Marshadow or Sudowoodo if it's still alive, right? Yeah, this was kind of expected. Like, I didn't expect Sudowoodo to last much longer, but again, like I said, we put Giratina in a range where Marshadow could just close it out, right? And that's just game. And we didn't even need to see Rampardos. That's just the strength of this deck in general, and especially in this format. Sure, we could put the energy here. Yeah, without Cranidos, I mean, without Rampardos, and without Riolu going into Lucario, we were able to beat this deck, and it was like not even like difficult. Like, it wasn't like we struggled or anything. In my opinion, by far the easiest of the expert battles. Mainly because of like the 3 diamond or less fighting deck is like one of the best decks in the game right now. We have multiple ways of winning. You know what? Let's give it to Rampardos. We could even like Cyrus out the Mewtwo, but let's just take out Gardevoir and call it a day. So most examples are going to be like this one. At worst is that they set up Gardevoir way too fast and you're stuck with like not finding either Cranidos or you can't find I don't know, Sudowoodo to apply pressure early. I don't know, something like that. All right, and for example number 2, we get to go second, and we do start Sudowoodo. So basically like the dream, especially since, well, it could be Ralts, but yeah, most likely it was either Mewtwo or Giratina. Double Mewtwo even, okay. And the best part about Sudowoodo is that it doesn't have weakness to Mewtwo, so it's not like if they find a way to ramp it real quick. Like if they go Giratina and then next turn do Dawn into Mewtwo, we don't lose to the Sudowoodo. We don't lose our Sudowoodo. Okay, so let's go. What are we really looking for? Probably let's empty the deck out of basic Pokemon and then look for our stage 1s. Marshadow's always good. We have Rampardos and Lucario. Not really getting Pokemon in the order we want to, but we're fine. Especially going second, we get to be aggressive early. We might be able to knock out this Mewtwo before it does anything, especially with Cyrus to drag it back out, if anything. Unless that, actually, even if they have Gardevoir next turn, at most they get 3 energy, so we're fine. Research hoping for Rampardos and Riolu. I mean Cranidos and Riolu, but we got half of that. So let's go Cranidos here. Set up Marshadow for the Revenge. So yeah, even if they have Gardevoir next turn, the most Mewtwo could go up to is 3 energy, hitting us for 50. We're still at 30, meaning we get the knockout, and we have Revenge set up with Marshadow in the background. So really good. Interesting here. They're probably going to back into Ralts, and then they're going to teleport into the other Mewtwo or something like that. Something troll that they could have just leafed into regardless. They just like doing all the extra steps apparently. Yeah, so we could knock out that Mewtwo immediately with Cranidos. I mean with Cyrus. My bad. I guess there's no reason not to either. Yeah, let's go Cyrus for that, and then next turn this Rampardos gets to knock out anything. This is honestly the easiest expert solo battle when you're following the opposite type, low rarity, like 3 diamonds or less. In the entire set of Shiny Revelry is this one, and not because Giratina's not bad, not because Mewtwo with Gardevoir isn't strong. Granted, it's very outdated. It's still a strong like concept. When it works out, honestly it's tough. But we're playing one of the best decks in the format. Granted, hopefully the format evolves and changes it up a bit. I don't want more of like Arceus and Cranidos and all that, but But all that to say that hold up, let me make sure I don't mess anything up this time. Yeah, when you're using one of the better decks of the past format, like of the format that just happened, and could still be one of the best decks in the format, given however it evolves, you're obviously going to wipe the floor with a CPU using a computer built, like a deck that's meant for like people to train or to practice, right? Regardless, it clearly worked well for me. Hopefully it works well for you. And any suggestions or maybe things that are, you know what, comment down below a deck that you used that didn't use Rampardos. Because honestly, I did take the easy way out, but it meets the requirements of the challenge, which is what my videos are for. So let's say if you did something interesting, or let's say you used Golem or something, comment down below. Let me know what Pokemon you used if you didn't use Rampardos and what the list was. So maybe other people get ideas. Maybe they don't have Rampardos, or they're tired of using it, and maybe they use your list and you help them out. Regardless, if this video helped you or you enjoy everything Pokemon Pocket, please consider liking and subscribing. And above all else, stay pro.